Hello, welcome to Breakfast Central this beautiful Friday morning, reaching you live from the city of Lagos. I am Benga Borough. Sit back, relax. For the next 3 hours, we're going to furnish you with a lot of information, giving you the best insightful discussions on the news and happenings in Nigeria and, of course, beyond. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee, and welcome to Breakfast Central. Olive, what's going on? Do you want to start using sign language?
You said, when you were saying sit back, relax, I was describing a sit back, relax, and I was looking at
I wasn't talking to you. I was referring to millions of viewers.
So I don't deserve to sit back and relax?
Not at this point. Let's do the work first.
We should do the work first. All right. Good morning. Lovely guest. Thank you for joining us to start this final day of the week here at Breakfast Central. 3 hours of looking at what's trending around the country in terms of Nigeria's political and economic, socio-political and economic space. But we also will be taking conversations with you, engaging you on social media. We're streaming live on YouTube at News Central TV. Drop your thoughts and comments on any of the stories that we'll be looking at. Your agreements as well as your disagreements, we'll be happy to take them as well on Breakfast Central. You can also tweet at us individually via at Oliver Modi at Benga Borough. Shout out to Joe Hansen, who is on leave for a while, so you might not be seeing him for a couple of days. But yes, the show continues. We're going to miss you so much, Joe. The show is not going to be the same without you.
I'm glad you're speaking for yourself.
Because you are not going to miss him?
Just a little bit. A little binge like this.
Then when we get offset, we'll now be wailing and crying and dropping tears of blood.
We'll see him.
Okay, so what happened while I was away yesterday for just 24 hours? I hear a little birdie tells me that River State government, the emergency rule has been lifted by the president. Unfortunately, it would seem that there's a lacuna in the River State House.
There's no lacuna, but we don't understand the explanation. But maybe when we get to what Nigerians are saying, they will tell us the reason why you assume there's a lacuna. But let's celebrate. I wish we had a bottle of champagne now, because democracy has been fully activated in all 36 states of the Federation. Nigeria is now fully democratic. There's nothing like, there's no sole administrator anymore. Democratic instruments have been restored. The governor, the deputy governor, the River State House of Assembly, everyone is back. And this came into effect at midnight yesterday. But, a little but, I mean, and it was celebrations around Government House in Port Harcourt yesterday. People were happy that their democratically elected governor, Governor Siminalayi Fubara, was back, or they've lifted the emergency rule. But 24 hours after the expiration of the emergency rule, the governor is yet to resume office.
And the question is, why is Governor Siminalayi Fubara yet to resume office 24 hours after? We certainly know that a few days ago we took information about how he and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had cut short their trip and returned to the country, and many assumed that the return of the executive governor as well as the commander-in-chief, grand commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was because of the transition that was set to happen in River State from the sole administration back to democracy that the citizens of River State voted for. Unfortunately, 24 hours later, the emergency rule has been lifted, and we're yet to see Governor Siminalayi Fubara. I many have started to make insinuations. There's a video. I don't know if you remember the time when Governor Sim Fubara gave a speech and said that he's tired, that his spirit has left there, that he's not even interested in going back. And I think we have that video of Governor Sim Fubara saying that his spirit has left there. Let's take a look.
Have you asked yourself, do you think I'm even interested in going back? I want to ask you, don't you see how better I look? Do you think I'm interested in it? If I have my way, I say it's clear. It's the order of God. I don't wish going back there. My spirit has left that place, not to go.
Perhaps this could be the reason why we haven't seen Governor Sim Fubara now, because his spirit is not yet back into the government.
Yes, and if there's no effective communication from the governor's media team, you leave room for speculation and all sorts of assertion and, you know, scenarios. And that's why, as journalists, we've gone back to play what he said in the recent past while he was suspended, that maybe this could be the reason, or perhaps, or maybe he has a cold, because if it wasn't because I'm so diligent and professional, I wouldn't have made it to work today. But I know that millions of Nigerians and millions of people around the world would watch Breakfast Central because of me. So I decided that come rain or sunshine,
or cold,
and no weapon fashioned against me, or cold, I'll be here today. That's why I kind of sound like AI, African intelligence.
How did you get this code?
I don't know, maybe enemies sent arrow through to me, spiritual arrow, to give me the code. But forget about the code. The show goes on. I'm audible, I'm professional, they can hear me, so.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, but on a serious note, I believe the governor should have communicated. It's almost like a slap on the faces of Nigerians, not just people of the state that came out en masse to welcome him back to Government House. Even if you are not going to make it for one reason or the other,
explain
or issue a statement.
Yes. So it would seem that the administration of Governor Siminalayi Fubara has.
I mean, look at this multitude of people on your screen that came to welcome the governor, only for the governor not to show up at work after enjoying 6 months forced holiday.
Well,
I mean, what could be the reason?
So that's the thing. The one thing you cannot disagree with is the fact that citizens in Rivers State fully love and support their governor. When the emergency rule was swung into effect, you could see, yes, there were factions that were sort of supporting the emergency rule, but there was a huge faction that was supporting the governor and saying that, that's not what they voted for. You could see people coming out in their numbers. See them. Our Rivers
governor is back to serve.
Right. So there's an excitement that was in the air that the citizens of Rivers State had, and it would have been great for the government to give an explanation as to why he was being absent. But today is another day for us to wait and see why, what will happen if the governor will return back to office, or if the governor will be again away. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say unfortunately, but the Rivers State House of Assembly has already swung into action. There's work that's going on. There's also talks about...
They've hit the ground running.
They've hit the ground running, exactly. There's also talks about the potential of them officially investigating the time of the sole administrator and ensuring that they do some form of a vetting to assess what has happened, what was spent during the time of the sole administrator, which we think is very important, because if you spend 6 months in office, you are not there as an executive governor of the state. And even if you were there has to be accountability.
Absolutely.
We need to start holding leaders to account. And I look forward to the time when we can set a standard of governance where the person coming in, or even if it's not the person coming in, that there is a thorough investigation of the previous administration, so that anyone who's going into office knows to comport themselves, knowing that when they leave, immunity clause doesn't cover them, it doesn't protect them, and that they'll be thoroughly investigated. Maybe then we will start to see those who would handle governance with the sanctity that it should be handled. But let's now head to social media and see what Nigerians are saying about the absence of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, the lifting of the emergency rule, the sole administrator, of course, exiting the scene, and the government house in Rivers State still remaining vacant. Alhaji Atiku says, lifting the suspension of Governor Sim Fubara is nothing to cheer about. The suspension of the Rivers State governor and the State House of Assembly was unconstitutional when it was done 6 months ago and is still illegal today. President Tinubu had no power to suspend a democratically elected governor, and state lawmakers. The Rivers shenanigans only signpost the dictatorship of the Tinubu administration. Signed, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Nefertiti says in 162 days, the highest court of Nigeria failed to determine the case brought before it by 11 PDP governors against the federal government. The apex court failed to determine the suit challenging the removal of Governor Fubara and the appointment of a sole administrator. They simply left the file on a dusty shelf. RIP to the judiciary in Nigeria is in order. The Supreme Court became silent when the case was between the federal government and public interest. The apex court has taken sides. They are not neutral. Elections in Nigeria became one of the most expensive in the world. For a charade that will end in go to court, the Supreme Court is now academic, a scarecrow of its former glory. Nigeria was okay until the APC showed up. They decimated our country to ground zero, but that wasn't enough. They found additional mojo to capture the courts and all institutions as well. Justice Kayode Esho, Chukwudifo Oputa, Mohammed Uwais, Karibi White, Anthony Aniagolu, and George Oguntade are disappointed. These were activist judges. They were fearlessly courageous. When the matter for determination was of national importance, importance, they dispensed it judiciously and timely. Their landmark judgments are reference points for other judges and lawyers to this day. The Supreme Court is now into regime protection, the worst kind since 1999. The judiciary contributed greatly to the political morass we have in Nigeria today. The fastest road to a failed state is when citizens completely lose faith in the judiciary. When they say, go to court, you already know they have the judiciary in their pocket. No businessman can bring their money into a country where the judiciary is compromised, where officials can dictate court judgments. Seller, full stop. Let's pause on that tweet, and I want to talk about that
very,
again
very
before
rich
we go back
and all encompassing.
Yes, let's pause on that tweet before we take the rest. And I remember when we had this conversation with a guest, and they were saying that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had already made the declaration that Sim should have played the politics, and that he did play the politics, and they applauded him. I was of the opinion, and I'm still of the opinion, that the law.
And even with Natasha's case,
yes,
the
law. So at the end of the day, the bulk of the responsibility lies at the courts. If the court has not declared it illegal, you cannot say that it's illegal. It is the court that has the authority to determine that something is illegal.
And as a matter of national importance and certain precedents, they do have a duty to come out. And 6 months is it's a long time to say.
A lot could have been done within that time. This should have been sorted. The matter should have been brought before the court. I mean, it was brought before the court, but the court should have adjudicated on this matter, and it should have been sealed. And if the court is deciding that it's not illegal, then there should have been a judgment in that regard. If the court determines that it's illegal, there should have been a judgment or a ruling in that regard. Unfortunately, when the story of Rivers State sole administration is ever told, there would be both sides of the divide. There would always be two camps. Some who would believe it's illegal, some who would believe it's legal. But this matter could have been sorted if justice had taken its course, if the courts had made a pronouncement, a declaration, if they had given judgment on the matter that the PDP governors had brought before the court. Unfortunately, we will never know.
I mean, supporters of state of emergency will say that former President Olusegun Obasanjo had declared during his time, but it was illegal. Yeah, and it still doesn't make it right. You can't build wrong on a wrong foundation.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, two wrongs don't make a right.
Okay,
I hope lessons have been learned, and would also, it will be important for us to let our viewers know that we're going to discuss the state of emergency as a topic on its own with an expert during the course of today's program. So,
all right, let's still take a few more tweets regarding the issue in Rivers State before we go to our next story. Ayin Akwa Ibom says, Nigeria, what exactly is wrong with us? Look at the number of Rivers State people throughout the streets to receive Fubara. Imagine the same number of people had taken to the streets to protest the illegality of the state of emergency. How did we get to this level of hypocrisy? Well, there was a large number, if you remember. Unfortunately, things turned out differently in Rivers State. There were protests and counter-protests. Still on the tweets we have here, I never expected Rivers people to be this cowardly. Many stayed silent when the man was removed, and some even took sides. Now that he's back, they've all returned to support him. As for Sim Fubara, he hasn't even taken his own stand. Oh my sheo, Atoba Jaye said that. I used to think that Atoba Jaye was a name reserved only for God. Anyway, this one, it says, I'm happy the governor didn't show up. Let everyone go home. Fake supporters. When he was illegally removed, the so-called supporters didn't say a word. They mostly moved on with their lives as usual. Let them all go home. Fubara will resume without fanfare. In other words, Cynthia Ofori, go home.
This is a new angle. Could that also be one of the reasons?
It's a possibility.
That where were you guys when I was suspended?
It's a possibility.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is sad for our democracy and a shame. In a democracy, power should never be exercised outside the clear text of the Constitution. This episode sets a dangerous precedent that must be resisted by every legal and civic means available. How can a president order a governor to vacate and then resume office at will, as though the mandate of the people were no more than the rules of a local drinkers association, Akintunde Babatunde asked? And that does it. That's all I have this morning regarding the Rivers State story. And we'll be delving into this in detail. It's going to be one of our top conversations, like Minga had mentioned earlier. But now let's move on to another development in Nigeria's education sector. Reports have it that the federal government has returned history to the basic school curriculum 15 years later. Recall that history was taken out as a subject, and there was a pushback. There were many who argued that history was removed, and as a result, a number of young people had no idea about our journey, our story, and people kicked back against that. So I think that there's an applause for the federal government.
That's a very important decision made by the federal government, and deserves all the applause, because people without a history are lost. And how do you plan for the future if you don't know where you're coming from? And I say this as a matter of fact, that a lot of Nigerians, even 40, 30-year-olds, cannot chronicle heads of state, something as simple as that. People who've been president of Nigeria from independence to date. So let alone the mistakes that we made, what caused the Civil War, if they are historically aware of some of the things we've gone through as a country and some of the sacrifices that our leaders in the past have made, they will be more circumspect in the way they talk to each other, the way they use social media, the sort of ethnic bickering and the sort of language they use, so as not to repeat the mistakes of the past. So it's a good one. Let's hope the curriculum is also looked into. Not just, or you don't teach history for the sake of history. You teach the right, the correct, the true, and the proper history. Let's hope it's not from a Eurocentric perspective. Don't tell us that Mungo Park discovered River Niger when people were bathing in the River Niger thousands of years before Mungo Park ever dreamt of coming to Nigeria. So,
right.
Shout out to Kode Bello. Mungo Park did not discover my own River Niger.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, history was removed about, I think, let me just confirm that, 2009-2010 academic session, and was subsumed under social studies. And why this is important that is returned is because, like Gwenga has mentioned, it's important for people to know where we're coming from. He said that the people that do not know where they're coming from will not know where they're going to. Take, for example, Rwanda. The reason why certain things happen in Rwanda is because they have preserved their history. When you think of Rwanda and you're thinking of tourist experiences, the first thing that comes to your mind is the Genocide Memorial. And the reason why, I've never been to Rwanda, but I know about the Genocide Memorial because there's almost nobody who goes to Rwanda that doesn't go to the Genocide Memorial, doesn't come back feeling humbled. They all come back feeling more emotional. Someone said to me that they felt palpable sadness seeing the people that were killed and just being in that museum. And what that does for them is that much later, conversations about where are you from, I don't know this, but I hear that it's offensive to ask a Rwanda,
are you Hutu
or Tutsi? Like, oh, where are you from in Rwanda? That they all tell you that they are all, Rwandese, right?
So yes.
So at the end of the day,
that's how it should be. And I really like this decision. And the curriculum from primary 1 to 6, the themes are Genesis 1, could we scroll up please? Genesis 1 to 3, civic and heritage studies. Heritage is very important. Oftentimes, you see Nigerians on social media, they say, oh, we're not even a country, the country doesn't have any rich history, nothing. I had the privilege of hosting the launch of the Digital Museum a few weeks ago, and my mind was blown at what our ancestors were capable of doing. The intricate art. It's even nicer, it's a greater experience when you experience this art digitally. You begin to appreciate what they did because you see the intricate details of terracotta art, bronze heads, knock art, and art that predates the creation of Nigeria. So it's really a marvel to behold. And when you understand that, look, our ancestors were savages, they were inventors, they created things, we had our own way of life, then you begin to, it could even inspire people to spark the renaissance and the rebirth of our beautiful country, Nigeria, and what we would like to see. So it's a good thing that history has been returned to the secondary school curriculum, compulsory.
Because the truth is, if you don't tell your story by yourself, someone else will tell the story for you. And the way in which they will tell the story might not reflect the correct picture of what is. We need young people to understand the many things that are so very fundamentally Nigerian. Things like our language. You know how many languages have gone into extinction? There are even Nigerian languages that have gone into extinction. So we need to be able to, I remember back in the day when we were much younger, we had things like people did Yoruba, Igbo in classes, Hausa as courses, and had to write them at WAEC and NECO.
Right.
And then there were things like, you know, those little current affairs pamphlets that we had that would detail several... No, not even Ogosiugo. There's this little one that looks like music book. It's like the same size of music book.
Oh, your ministers and governors,
let you know who the ministers
states and capital.
Yes, and then it had a number of them will tell you who president was from, you know, 19, you know, from our independence up until now. So there were things that were being taught, and I think that is very important. And one part of our history that I wish that we will hold on to as much as possible will be language, because I find that a number of parents don't like their children speaking their language because they think it will affect your.
They call it vernacular.
Oh, and in schools, anybody who speaks vernacular, you put one in the vernacular jar. We need to embrace our language.
Or you beat them.
Our language is what makes us Nigerian.
Exactly.
Right. But let's see what Nigerians think about this, what they're saying about it on X. Mr. Kemerun Chukwumunagi says, under political development in Nigeria, Nigeria Biafra 1967 to 1970 genocide is missing and was not included in the curriculum. Asaba massacre is not there. Why including history of other countries when our own history is not fully included? It's a nice move though, and I cannot verify that, but if that's true, then that's a problem. I hope the history taught will be exactly how it happened and not hypocritical taught nor diluted to vilify some and praise few. If this be the case, please take it off the curriculum because there are tendencies of this being manipulated after being removed for so long. So I was going to mention the downsides, but let's continue with the tweets. This one says, this is good 100%. Now children will learn about Bola Ahmed Tinubu's involvement in Nigeria's history. Likewise, River State children will learn about the villains of emergency rule in River State and how they subverted the will of the people, even at the ballot.
Interesting take there. S-Man says, actually, our government is not doing enough to make the education sector great. Before implementing such a new curriculum, they should investigate whether the public schools can accommodate the new curriculum. Who will teach such courses? Do the schools have enough facilities? You don't need facilities to teach history. You need graduates and teachers of history to teach history, and it's a course that is widely offered in many federal universities across the nation. So just to answer your question there.
So I think that that's also a key issue that was raised there. One of the main challenges that in reintroducing history would be balancing narratives.
Yes.
Because there will be multiple narratives, there's a potential of bias. History is told by a person from their perspective. And just imagine that they wanted to write the story of NSAS from the perspective of the Nigerian youth and from the perspective of the government of the day at the time when it happened. I think that there will be some discrepancies.
I mean, just report it like journalists do. Balance, tell the story. Yeah.
Yeah, but
as it happened.
But so that's the thing. The concern about the potential of bias. The person who made reference to Asaba massacre, it's not a story that is often told in Nigeria's media, but it did happen. If you go to Asaba, you go to Ogbe quarters, you will see the epitaph.
There's a monument.
A monument that was put up, erected there, and it had names. And guess what? I didn't even know about the Asaba massacre. The only reason I knew about the Asaba massacre was because I visited the Ogbe quarters and I took the pictures. I remember posting it, and I had people on Instagram saying, "Oh, that's my uncle's name. That's my grandfather's name." But these are parts of our history.
And it's very important we tell those stories.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. But that's all that we have this morning on Wake Up Conversations. Just to quickly take one comment on YouTube. Mokoye Chukwuemeka, good morning, and good morning, Marvelous Sunny. Mokoye Chukwuemeka says, if I am Fubara, my SIM won't enter that phone. That is in bracket, government house, again. And he says, Oliver and Benga, if you were in Fubara's shoes, will you go back? If you ask me, now who I go ask?
I will go back. Government life is sweet, especially as governor.
Okay, let's share what our top stories this morning are on Breakfast Central. This morning, Amewule-led Assembly resumed seating, demand budgets, cabinet list. And this is, of course, in River State. Don't block Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's resumption, NBA tells Senate. They already did that. Lagos Fire Service probes Lagos Blaze launches safety task force. That is regarding the recent fire incidents on the island of Lagos. Federal government unveils ambitious high-speed rail project to connect 5 regions. The newspaper front pages will be part of today's show, and we'll have our analyst and then open the phone lines at that point. Stay with us. Welcome to Breakfast Central. We begin our top stories this morning in Rivers State, where the House of Assembly has resumed plenary after 6 months of emergency rule, and they're not wasting time. The Assembly is demanding Governor Siminalayi Fubara to submit a fresh list of commissioner nominees and present a new budget for the remainder of the year. This comes after the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, announced an end to the emergency rule on Wednesday, a move that ended the 6-month tenure of ex-Naval Chief Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas as Rivers' sole administrator.
Meanwhile, thousands of supporters who had waited at the Rivers State Government House, Port Harcourt, on Thursday to welcome the reinstated State Governor Siminalayi Fubara went home disappointed after he failed to appear. Fubara was scheduled to resume duties as Governor of Rivers State on Thursday, following the end of a 6-month emergency rule imposed on the state by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on March the 18th. Join us this morning for today's discussion on the suspension of the emergency rule in Rivers State is human rights activist, Madam Anko Briggs. A warm welcome to you, ma'am, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, the sole administrator, the former sole administrator, Rear Admiral Ibas, says the emergency mandate was accomplished, but many argue it was undemocratic from the start. Was this handover a victory for the people, or it's just a return to the status quo?
Well, I don't know whom he handed over to because, as you have just mentioned, we have, unless if within the last few hours, some people have seen the governor. We have not yet heard any announcement from our governor addressing the people of Rivers State. So I don't understand what Ibas means by he has handed over the governance to Rivers State Governor, that he had completed or achieved the mandate of the president. Again, we're not clear on which mandate he is talking about, because if we remember, on your mandate we stand. We need to know, Rivers people need to know which mandate, the whole mandate, or just the mandate of Rivers State being captured by a handful of people who are Rivers indigenes and also non-Rivers indigene, by the political system, by the federal government system. There has been a state capture in Rivers State. So until we get answers to some of these questions, and until we actually hear the governor of Rivers State address the people of Rivers State, even if it's just to say to us, "I am back," we have not seen the governor, and therefore one can then deduct that the governor has not arrived to take over.
Okay, we'll soon talk about the governor's absence in the government house, but you said that you want answers. Who would you say that you want those answers from? Is it from the federal government that made that activated the emergency rule, or is it from the judiciary that did not make a pronouncement or a judgment as to the legality or otherwise of the suspension of the executive governor of Rivers State?
Actually, from all of these people you have mentioned and more, still from the president. You see, the thing is that in a country like Nigeria, or perhaps in any country really, where they do things by rule of law, the fact that this suspension has been lifted does not in any way mean that this what happened to Rivers State in the last 6 months will never be discussed. It's gone down in the annals of the history of Rivers people, the lives of Rivers people, governance in Rivers State, and historians, even our great-grandchildren who are yet to come, will want to know what happened that led to this and what happened in between that time. But the major person that will have to answer the questions of Rivers people is Ibas. Ibas came into Rivers State And when he came, there were projects going on when the governor was suspended. He needs to give us answers on those questions. Did he finish those projects he met? And if he didn't, why did he put them on hold? Is it because there was no money? And if there is no money, let him tell us, and we will ask the governor why there was no money. Now, did he meet any money in government house? Because there is an account office in all the government houses in Nigeria. And the revenues that he received in the last 6 months, what did he do with those? I have been saying this thing from the day he took over till today. He met our monies, our bank accounts. He received our funds from the local, from the federal government allocation that is due the state. All these questions, he has to answer them. We cannot sweep these questions under the pretext of the suspension, because things has happened in Rivers State that Rivers State people are entitled to answers. And if you look, you just mentioned that the Rivers State Assembly sat yesterday. They've raised some questions that I also have been raising. We have had budget of 2025 presented at one time or the other at a minimum of maybe two or three, and then the assembly members that are now sitting at one time refused to allow the governor to present the budget to them when they said they didn't defect, and which eventually the governor was suspended. Then IBAS presented the same budget 2025, but I believe he had made adjustments to the National Assembly. And now the State Assembly wants to know whether the governor is going to present the budget to them, or he's going to work with the budget that IBAS presented. This is all very confusing for the people of Rivers State. How many budgets does a state? How many budgets does a state have in a 12-month period? And how many people must that budget be presented to? So these are the issues. And then, of course, the one in the last 24 hours, we have not heard or seen from the governor. And if you remember, when the governor was suspended, we also were concerned that immediately after the suspension, we didn't see, at least Rivers people, a few people saw him who were close to him, but the totality of Rivers people, the ordinary people, someone in my capacity and all of that, just on the streets, and I account myself amongst those people of Rivers State, did not see him. So we were concerned. So eventually we got to see him. But the point is that as of today, 24 hours into his recall, we have not seen the governor. Why have we not seen
are you
the
worried?
governor? Some people are asking.
Are you worried about the whereabouts of Mr. Governor and his current state of mind and temperament? Because a lot of people were expected a triumphant re-entry into government house yesterday. Or do you have any inklings or insinuations as to what might be happening behind the scenes and the reason why he hasn't showed up to work?
Well, going to triumphant, I am not surprised that the governor of Rivers State does not, maybe does not see the triumphant entry, his recall as a triumphant entry. From the day he was suspended, Rivers people, including myself, were shouting and saying, look, you have to recall the governor of Rivers State. The conditions or the reasons, Mr. President, you have given and accepted based on information that was given to you, because people say, oh, the president received security information and he is likely to have more information than we have. All right, we accept that. But the point is that we kept saying the people of Rivers State were not heard by the president. He didn't listen to us. And so The 6 months suspension lasted 6 months. I do not see anything to celebrate in that, to say that the governor should come back. When the governor was away, I joined the protests, all the protests that, well, the ones that were from governor's side. People like the women, the praying women, and the whole women of Rivers State were represented in that red march of thousands of women across Port Harcourt. And so if we don't do the same, or if the governor right now is not in Port Harcourt, I'm not concerned for now. I'm not concerned because, as I said earlier, when he was suspended, we didn't see him. And I'm happy that the governor does not see this as a triumph. He didn't win anything. What did he win? He won none of the cases on his behalf. Some of them were thrown out. Some of them are still hanging in the courts. Some of them were judged out of context as far as I am concerned. And so when you look at all of these things, I'm not surprised by, nor am I worried right now that the governor is not on seat.
All right. I mean, just to also confirm, are you saying that the governor for certain is not in Port Harcourt?
I don't know. I'm not a member of his family. I'm not in his cabinet. I don't work in his government. I am an activist. I am someone that tells the truth. I speak for myself and my people, the ones that agree with me. And I speak from what I know, what I feel, and what I can protect and what I can stand by. And so I don't know where the governor is, and I don't expect to know where the governor is until we see the governor. I'm no different from the ordinary market women in terms of that, because I'm not a politician, but I'm interested in what these politicians tend to do in my name, because where Rivers State is today is directly the responsibility of politicians. It's not the responsibility of Rivers people. We didn't put ourselves here. The politicians, APC, PDP, at the beginning of this crisis in 2023, I began to say that the PDP had seriously let down the people of Rivers State, whom they have taken for granted, assuming that every single time Rivers people are going to vote for their preferred party so far, which is the PDP political party. But now we have a governor who has 23 local governments to work with, chairman to work with, whom he doesn't know because he didn't conduct the election, which is his right to conduct. And we have House of Assembly members who still interact with the governor or are displaying attitudes of interacting with the governor as if they are the boss of the governor, opposed to working with the governor.
And that brings me to this question. I'm happy you mentioned the relationship with other units of governance in the state, the House of Assembly and local government. President Tinubu said the emergency rule was necessary to prevent collapse. But looking at where we are today in Rivers State, did it actually resolve the underlying political tension in the state that led to the declaration of the state of emergency? And is what we're witnessing today, is it a piece of the graveyard? And yes.
Definitely, it's a piece of the graveyard. When two people have had a dispute, whether you're a worker in a company, and you have been suspended and you are called back, the terms on which you are coming back is very critical, because it may diminish your rights, lower your where you were before the suspension. Anything can happen. So these are the concerns that Rivers people have, and we won't be able to tell until the governor is in Government House. working from Government House, and his body language, his utterances, his behavior will tell us exactly where the governor is and how the governor is functioning. Don't forget that at a service to honor the late Chief E.K. Clark, the month that he was buried, we had a song of service in Rivers State on a Sunday at Pastor Ziliagri's church. Now, at that place, the whole world heard the governor say that nobody has asked him how if he wants to come back. We're fighting, going to court, protesting, and yet we don't know whether he wants to come back or he doesn't want to come back. The governor also said that he's not desperate for power. The governor also said that his spirit has left Government House. We can't really forget all of these things. And so if there are issues, we will have to know whether why the governor has yet, maybe he has returned and nobody has seen him and nobody knows whether he's in Government House, whether he's in Abuja, whether he's in Port Harcourt, whether he's in his home, nobody knows. And so the piece of the graveyard is what is playing out now. You can see the confusion that is on ground. The governor has been called back, and as I say, I particularly, and a lot of people I've spoken to, do not see this as a triumph. The governor did not win anything. He did not win any court case that was put forward either by him, by people working with him in government, or by ordinary citizens of Rivers State like me and a group of so many other people, PDP members, so many other people that went to court. The president actually also mentioned that in his speech, that there are cases still hanging in courthouses and in courts, lower courts, higher courts, magistrate courts, Supreme Courts, that are still hanging about the Rivers State matter in Nigeria. So you see, I kept saying, and I continue to say, that because Rivers people were denied these 6 months does not mean that we will sweep it under the carpet as people want us to do. I definitely, and the people that I agree with, will continue to talk about what happened to Rivers State until one way or the other we get satisfaction. And that's one way or the other. We'll start with IBAS. IBAS cannot come into Rivers State, should not be able to come into Rivers State, do what he likes. He never interacted with anybody. He never asked. I don't know how he brought about this peace he's talking about. So he has to account for what he has done or has not done in Rivers State.
Okay, we'll talk about the former sole administrator, but want to play the video that you made reference to where the governor did say that his spirit is no longer in the Government House. And many are wondering, is this what is going on? But let's take a look at the video and we'll come back to the conversation. All right. If our producers can play the video of the governor saying that his spirit had left the Government House, wanted to play that for our viewers in case, for those who maybe didn't start the show with us, because that was how we started the show. But let's take a look at the video and we'll continue with the conversation.
Have you asked yourself, do you think I'm even interested in government? I want to ask you, don't you see how better I look? Do you think I'm interested in it? If I have my way, I say it's clear. It's a matter of God. I don't wish going back there. My spirit has left that place, not to go.
That's the video of the governor stating that his spirit has left the Government House. And people are wondering, is that what's happening? And is that why he hasn't yet returned to the Government House? Do you worry about the quality of the government that might come to Rivers State should the governor officially return back to the House? Because there are many who wonder that he's been crippled to some extent, politically crippled by this state of emergency that had been put on River State, and that he might not be the governor that the people of River State elected into office. Do you have such concerns, ma'am?
Absolutely, absolutely, because we were satisfied from May when he was sworn in to the time all this crisis started in the same year, 2023, which was less than 6 months into his tenure, when we began to hear and eventually saw what happened, where the governor was tear gassed, where the governor was doused with water from water trucks or cannons or whatever. So this is, you see, the governor is a human being. The governor is somebody's father. The governor and politics or no politics, you cannot devastate a human being with abuses and insults and disrespect to the seat of power that people of River State has entrusted to him, and expect that he would not feel that if I were not here, I would not be receiving this type of insults. You can't just insult people and think that it will just roll over them. And this, the governor of River State has gone through a lot as a person in River State, and in the eyes of Nigerians. Even today, people are still, if you go into anything to do with the governor, you will see the comments. There are some supporting him. There are some who don't even understand what is happening in River State. But because of the access to social media, the abuse and the insults continue. Even someone like me, which I know that comes with the territory that I operate in, the insults that one gets just for speaking the truth by people who don't know a thing about what you're talking about. And so, yes, we are concerned that the governor that was suspended, who's done and was poised to do so much infrastructure development that has been lacking in River State since 1999 till today. The governor was taking his time and readdressing those infrastructural. You cannot have a development of the people and the state if you don't have infrastructural development to start with, education, healthcare, security. If you don't have those things on ground, then you're not going to be able to deliver. So now, with the way the governor seems it is coming back to, as I mentioned, 23 local governments, of which 20 belongs to APC. This is not an APC party. This is not an APC state. It's a PDP state. We have only 3 PDP chairmen, local government chairmen. The rest are APC local government chairmen. Some people will jump at what I'm saying now and say, oh, but the election the governor conducted that they cancelled is another party that won those local government elections. That's because the PDP itself refused to partake in the local government election that the governor of Rivers State conducted. And when Wike was governor, he conducted elections. Amechi conducted elections. Dr. Peter Odili conducted elections. Why should Governor Siminalayi Fubara not be allowed to conduct local government election of local government chairmen that will work with him? Now, he has a state assembly that up till now, we don't know if they will work with him. We won't know because the governor is not even back. But looking at what they are saying, we are wondering if this piece will have time. And there is something else I want to point out that the governor said. When they claimed and accepted and told the people of Nigeria, particularly Rivers State, both Nyesom Wike and Siminalayi Fubara, when they came out with the president from Villa and said that they had made peace, he also put a caveat on that. He said he hopes that this time the peace will be allowed to stay. Something to that. I'm just paraphrasing. But that's the meaning of what, if not correctly, that's the meaning of what the governor said. We must listen to the things the governor has said in the past. We have to listen to what he's saying now. When it comes to the condition under which he is supposed to function as the governor of Rivers State, who is democratically elected to deliver dividends of democracy, actually democracy itself, to the people of Rivers State. And we are concerned that may not be possible. But that's a concern. It's not yet a reality. It will become a reality depending on what plays out. One will have to start with the return of the Governor Siminalayi Fubara to the government house in Rivers State to sit in his office and then begin to interact with the people that he is governing and listen to the people that he is governing to know exactly what the people want. But the other thing that the State Assembly people said yesterday, the State Assembly members said yesterday, that is of interest to me, and I do agree with them, is the fact that there has to be, and they said that they will take it on to know what Ibas did with the monies that he got in the name of Rivers State. That's very critical. Because if we don't know what he did with that money, he's a stranger to Rivers State. He's not an indigene of Rivers State. And he cannot continue to refer to Rivers State as his state. Rivers State is not his state. He's from Cross River. So he cannot continue to be saying it's an assault on the people of Rivers State for him to be claiming Rivers State. He's not an indigene of Rivers State. He was imposed on Rivers people, and he has gone. But it was painful for the 6 months that he was imposed on the people of Rivers State. And that's why we're still discussing the issue of Rivers State, because the reaction or the fact that the governor has not yet taken his seat is what people are discussing in Rivers State right now.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. We hear that the governor is set to land at the airport, and we have one of our correspondents, Biola Festus, who's waiting there. So we will now connect with her and see if we have an update regarding that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Great.
All right. We have Biola Festus, who initially had thought she was at the airport, but I hear that she's now at the government house. Let's connect with Biola Festus to get a sense.
We also have Austin Azu at the airport waiting for the arrival of the governor. Right.
So let's get a sense of what the situation is like in Rivers State. Good morning, Biola Festus. We saw people coming out in the numbers awaiting the arrival of the governor. Yesterday, unfortunately, they were disappointed. You're at the State House. What is the mood like, and what are the people in Rivers State saying?
We are at the government house for Harcourt. Well, this place was a carnival scene yesterday with lots of people trooping in here to wait for the arrival of the governor. Well, that didn't happen. Today we decided to come check what the atmosphere would look like, but there's not even one person here as a supporter that may be waiting for the governor. Now we have our crew also stationed at the airport, and they tell us that the people are beginning to gather at the airport and waiting for the arrival of the governor, who we hear may land any moment from now. So the attention has shifted from the Rivers State government house to the airport. From the airport, we are not certain where he will be going to. They would come to the government house, or he would go to South Hall, wherever. When he lands, we would follow through the story to see where he will be going. But for
Biola Festus, for that update. We'll now cross over to the Port Harcourt International Airport to join our correspondent, Austin Azu, who we learned we're hearing that the governor is airborne and might be arriving anytime soon. Over to you, Austin. Please, could you give us a situation report of what's happening at the airport and what we should expect this morning?
Good morning. Good morning, Olive. We are currently at the Port Harcourt International Airport. Behind me, you can see the mammoth crowds trooping into the airport. And of course, one can tell for free that they all anticipate the arrival of the governor today. Unlike what they had yesterday, this place was quite empty. It was only at the government house that you have a very large crowd that actually turned out their numbers to welcome the governor. Very unfortunately that the governor didn't come yesterday. But however, this morning we have some persons on the ground here to talk to us, including former leaders of the party, former leaders of the local government areas, and some supporters within the local government area. I have Innocent Chino Peter, former vice chairman in Kwere local government area. Please come this way, man. Okay, bring us to speed. What's your anticipation for the arrival of the governor? What are you expecting that the governor is likely going to do for the people of Rivers State? In the first place, are you happy that the governor is coming back today?
First of all, we want to give Almighty God the glory for making this day come to pass. It has been a day of joy. Since yesterday, the Siminalayi Fubara supporters have been all out celebrating and jubilating for this good thing that has happened to us. Yes, as you can see, the mammoth crowd here, ready and waiting to receive the governor as he returns. As we are expecting that as the governor returns, you know, the abandoned project, a lot of things that has been halted would continue. And normally this is a democratic governance, and the democratic governance can come back to the way it has always been. Siminalayi Fubara has been a governor loved by his people and cherished by his own. And we believe that at the end of the day, he will return back to the way it has always been, and the people will rejoice at it.
Thank you. We have Alex Amakwe. Alex Amakwe, you are one of the supporters of the governor. What are you expecting differently that you want to see the governor to do in Rivers?
Actually, what we are expecting is nothing more, because our governor has always been a very peaceful person, as you can see. We know that he's going to show the path of peace by starting up those projects that the sole administrator left abandoned, and you know, seeing to the needs of the people of Rivers State and moving the state forward again. That's what we expect, as he has always done, because since his absence there has not been anything. No project commissioning, no project flag off, nothing in the state is working. So we have high hopes that the state is going to rejuvenate to another level.
Okay, thank you, Alice. We have Jackson, the former councillor here in the state here. Okay, Jackson, of course, within this period of 6 months, you have a sole administrator that presided over the political affairs and the governance of Rivers State. Tell me in your own words, what will you likely going to miss, or what are you going to miss about your sole administrator that just left Rivers State?
Actually, first I want to thank the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the turn of democracy in Rivers State. Actually, what the period of 6 months came with a lot of shock and surprises and all that. We were not expecting it, but anyway, it came, it has lasted, it has ended. So we are expecting the governor return. That's why we are in airport to receive our governor. You can see the jubilant crowd from Rivers State. All Rivers residents are happy to see the governor coming back to office, to start from what, to continue from what he has always started. We are expectant, and we're also happy that the governor, as a man who is also closer to the people, who understand the pulse of the people, we are very sure and very expectant that the governor is going to do according to what Rivers people are expecting to do. He's a governor that is a reflexive of the people of the Rivers people. He loves our people. He understands the pace of our people. He will go to work immediately and will do as Rivers people expecting. We expect jobs. We expect him to continue from the massive project he already has started. So we also know that he, as a governor, who also understands the peace, you know, that has been established by the president and the sole administrator. So we know the governor is going to do what Rivers people expect him to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have Benny here. Benny Chikos here. Okay, tell us, what would be your advice to the governor in terms of uniting the people of Rivers State, in terms of ensuring that what the people of Rivers State wanted this time around actually come to pass?
Okay, good morning. I am so excited to be here. So my advice to the governor is for him to start the good works he has been doing before now. So the abandoned project and everything that has been waiting, because the people have been waiting patiently waiting for him to come and continue his good works. So I pray that now he should just complete everything he's doing or he has been doing. We've missed him. I am glad to be here. Thank you.
All right, Benga and Olive, you quite agree with me that the mammoth crowd at this point in time is a signal that we are having more people coming into the airport to show solidarity, to welcome the governor, which they have missed for 6 months right now, and is an indication that yes, a new dawn is coming to River State. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Austin. Just to quickly check with you, some of the reactions we've seen to the crowds that have come out en masse to support the governor, are people saying that these crowds of people, a number of them were not in support of the governor at the time that the state of emergency was being imposed on the state. So would you say that the crowd comprises of both the supporters of the governor as well as those who were against the governor at the time that the sole administrator was sent to River State and the state of emergency was imposed in the state? Or would you say that the majority of the crowd that you're seeing are people who have really just been Team Governor Siminalayi Fubara right from the jump?
Okay, if I can get you very correctly, we just spoke to some of them right now, which they affirmed that yes, that they expect the governor to hit the ground running, considering the fact that most of the projects that were started by him were stalled due to the state of emergency. And I actually asked that question to one of the respondents about what he might likely going to miss about the Adgonso administrator, which he didn't actually speak more on it, but we spoke to some persons yesterday and they told us that of course the sole administrator didn't actually do well in terms of governance, in terms of projects and so on and so forth. So obviously the people will be expecting more from the governor, and the confidence they have in the governor will ensure that he's able to deliver the dividends of democracy to the people, and beyond the dividends of democracy is equally going to unite the people of River State the more. Don't forget too well that before the state of emergency, the state was quite divided politically and otherwise. So this time around, they are expecting that the governor will play a more unifying role to unify everyone to ensure they are able to advance the needed developments in River State. So we expect more from our respondent to talk to us about some of the things we need to know, and thereafter we'll proceed from there. So back to you, Olive, in the studio.
Thank you so much, Austin, for bringing us updates. We hope to reconnect. Hopefully the governor arrives before the show ends so we can get to feel the pulse of the people. Absolutely. And maybe have a conversation with the governor before the show comes to a wrap. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you, Biola Festus, for bringing us updates from the State House of Assembly as well. We want to see what the updates are. We know that a lot of the State Assembly and the speakers have already the lawmakers have hit the ground running rather. And we want to see what the next step will be for the State House. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for joining us.
Yeah, Olive, Madam Kilbriggs did say there's nothing to celebrate, but the people of Port Harcourt think otherwise. And even we'll have to see the temperament, body language of the governor to see if he's excited to be back, if he's in a celebratory mood, and then people thanking Mr. President too for being a Democrat and allowing democracy to return to the government house. Yes.
All right then, thank you so much. We'll be bringing you more updates on this, but just to let you know that that's the latest update regarding River State. We're going to break now, and when we come back, Breakfast Central continues. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. The Nigerian Bar Association has issued a bold statement. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan must be allowed to resume her duties. A 6-month suspension has lapsed, but the Senate says she must wait for a court ruling before returning. Let's lay out the facts. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan was suspended on March the 6th, 2025, after the Senate adopted a report accusing her of violating chamber rules by refusing to vacate her assigned seat during plenary.
Now, this suspension stripped her of salary, aids, and office privileges, and she challenged the decision in court. And while the appeal is still pending, her 6-month suspension has legally expired. Yet, the Senate insists she cannot resume until the Court of Appeal rules on her case. The NBA says that's unconstitutional and denies her constituents their right to representation. Joining us for today's discussion is human rights lawyer, Mr. Festus Ogun. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ogun.
I should have introduced you not just as a human rights lawyer, I would say, but the lawyer that dared to challenge the state government
Thank
and
you
ask
for
the
having
governor
me.
to unblock him.
Thank you
How
for
did that go,
having
by
me.
the way?
Well, it's, we're able to achieve our objectives. The governor indeed unblocked me.
And many people would have
Congratulations.
looked at that as, why are you asking the governor to unblock you? Why? And I did see your explanation, which I thought made sense. But just to handle that, many people thought, I did see some of the people who would say, of all the cases to go take to court, why are you insisting that the governor unblocks you? Why was it important to you that that happened?
You know, there is a trend of clamping down on activists, on journalists, on critics.
Dissenting voices.
In digital space. Dissenting voices are being clamped upon in digital space. And this is not just cases of arrest, cases of intimidation. We have now gone to the extent where the authorities are now blocking people, are now reporting accounts, you know. So we must not give any room at this rate for any form of, you know, clamp down or violation of the right of freedom of expression. So I felt that, if I can be singled out and get blocked, then I believe that it's a violation of my right to freedom of expression. And like I mentioned at the last time I was on the show, in the coming weeks, we'll be in court. There is currently a matter where even the president of this country has blocked a citizen. We are going to court on that. There are also instances where INEC has blocked quite a number of persons who are very loyal to a particular, former presidential candidate. All of that will also be tested in court. So we are not just filing this suit for the sake of it. We are elevating the right of our people to express themselves in the digital space, especially in respect of political opinions.
And also maybe trying to establish the fact that these accounts are not your personal accounts. It's for an office. Citizens have right to the information.
Absolutely. You see, the truth of the matter is that even if you have been using that account for, you know, private purposes, once you get into power and you now use that account for public purposes, you dare not block any resident or any person who ought to receive information from that account. What is more profound is now having institutions. We saw cases on Twitter where Central Bank of Nigeria are blocking people, INEC blocking people.
JAMB warning a citizen, mind your words.
You know, so if we are even talking about, this is an elected official, that could still be argued. But we are talking about institutions.
Let's look at things from the other side. So many Nigerians don't understand social media etiquette and the proper use of it. Yes. You're a lawyer, you understand the etiquette, the responsible use of it, and in no way or form did you abuse the governor in any way. And you know you shouldn't do that.
Absolutely.
So when Nigerians step their bounds, their boundaries, overstep their boundaries and resort to personal insults, degenerating comments on this, against this handles, don't you think they have a right to, okay, I don't want to hear this sort of insults. This person has lost their right to be civil, so I'm just going to block. They still don't have the right to do that.
The truth of the matter is that we have an ecosystem that is intolerant to criticism. Look at my case. I have never been abusive of anybody. I will never do that. It is against my training as a legal practitioner. What we have is a system that doesn't want any form of criticism. In the past, even in the
whether you're being civil or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even in the recent past, Governor Donald Duke sued Global Excellence magazine. The matter went up to the Supreme Court on issues of libel. As far back as the 1980s, the first executive governor of Ogun State, Chief Olabisi Nabanjo, filed a matter against Concord Press, owned by Chief Abiola. These are the ways and manner with which those that have been elected engage citizens, even if they feel aggrieved that this publication is false. But we now have a regime where your house will be, burgled by the security agencies, you'll be arrested,
on a
you'll
Friday.
be intimidated, and what have you. So what we are saying is that, come, this is a democracy. Let people express themselves. When people express themselves, sometimes it's even out of frustration. So you should not just be comfortable listening to those people that praise you, or those set of persons that tell you, oh, you are doing well, you are the best to have ever ruled, or you are the best to have ever governed. You must be willing to listen to the frustration of your
So they must take
constituents.
criticism as graciously as they take compliments.
It has to be commensurate.
Let's talk, still talking about restriction or breach of fundamental rights. Another person whose rights they say have been breached are the rights of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to represent her people who democratically elected her to be their representative in the House. The NBA has taken a position. Where do you think the fault lies? Is it with the Senate for refusing to allow her back in office after the expiration of her time in office? Or is it on the courts for failing, to ensure that matters are immediately adjudicated upon and a decision is made as to the legality or otherwise of her suspension?
In fairness to our court, the court has discharged its responsibility here, at least to a greater extent. She was suspended for 6 months. Within that 6 months, we had a federal high court judgment. That's very fast.
Yeah, but it didn't go all the way in providing a remedy or final decision that, she should return or not. It was open-ended.
I do not intend to, because the matter is on appeal.
Sub judice.
Sub judice. I do not want to really comment on that. But beyond the propriety or otherwise of the suspension, now the suspension has expired by effusion of time. The 6 months has expired. So what is the basis for asking her not to resume? You have asked someone to leave the Senate for 6 months. The 6 months has expired. So she says she wants to resume. You are saying she cannot resume because she's in court. You have punished her in the first place by suspending her for 6 months. That 6 months has expired. Let's liken it to this scenario. A landlord has asked the tenant to leave. Now, the landlord has filed an action in court for the tenant to leave the apartment. The tenant has also gone to join issues with the landlord in court. The landlord is now saying, you can't enter this house because there is a case in court. It is arbitrary. See, what we are saying is an indication that the law does not rule in Nigeria. It is an indication that there is no consequence, no iota of consequence for impunity. Because, look, there is no legal basis. Because we have asked them, can you cite any law? Just even a single law or section of the Constitution or any other law.
So what do you think is happening? Is it personal vendetta?
What I see is an abuse of naked power. A clear abuse of naked power in the sense that the Senate lacks the rights, it lacks the power to restrain an elected senator from representing our people. They don't even have the right to suspend her in the first place. But let's even assume that the suspension has elapsed by dint of effusion of time. I mean, the 6 months has elapsed. There is no justification, legal or moral justification, to now deny her access to representing our people. Look, the Court of Appeal, in the case involving the Bauchi State House of Assembly and Honorable Dana, the Court of Appeal made it clear. You cannot deny the constituents their legal representation because it is a constitutional right to be represented. It is a constitutional right. The office of the senator is created by the Constitution, and the only way you can abridge that representation is clearly stated under Section 68 of the Constitution. It says if Senator Natasha is no longer going to be on the floor of the House, it's either going to be whether she resigns, or she is recalled, or she defects from a political party, or she is convicted. These are the 4 instances with which the constituents can be denied representation, at least in the main. But that is not the case here. So what happens, because this is a matter at the Court of Appeal, we have matters that have been pending for 5 years. What happens, say, from now till 2027, the case is not decided? Are we saying the people of our constituents will be denied representation?
That's what the Senate is holding on to, that the case is in the Court of Appeal.
You see, so the Senate, in all honesty, cannot have the governor indeed unblocked.
And many people have looked at that as, why are you asking the governor to unblock you? Why? And I did see your explanation, which I thought made sense. But just to handle that, many people thought, I did see some of the people who would say, of all the cases to go take to court, why are you insisting that the governor unblocks you? Why was it important to you that that happened?
You know, there is a trend of clamping down on activists, on journalists, on critics.
Dissenting voices.
Yeah. In digital space. Dissenting voices are being clamped upon in digital space. And this is not just cases of arrest, cases of intimidation. We have now gone to the extent where the authorities are now blocking people, are now reporting accounts, you know. So we must not give any room at this rate for any form of, you know, clamp down or violation of the right of freedom of expression. So I felt that, if I can be singled out and get blocked, then I believe that it's a violation of my right to freedom of expression. And like I mentioned at the last time I was on the show, in the coming weeks, we'll be in court. There is currently a matter where even the president of this country has blocked a citizen. We are going to court on that. There are also instances where INEC has blocked quite a number of persons who are very loyal to a particular former presidential candidate. All of that will also be tested in court. So we are not just filing this suit for the sake of it. We are elevating the right of our people to express themselves in the digital space, especially in respect of political opinions.
And also maybe trying to establish the fact that these accounts are not your personal accounts. It's for an office. Citizens have right to the information.
Absolutely. You see, the truth of the matter is that even if you have been using that account for, you know, private purposes, once you get into power and you now use that account for public purposes, you dare not block any resident or any person who ought to receive information from that account. What is more profound is now having institutions. We saw cases on Twitter where Central Bank of Nigeria are blocking people, INEC blocking people.
JAMB warning a citizen, mind your words.
You know, so if we are even talking about, this is an elected official, that could still be argued. But we are talking about institutions.
Let's look at things from the other side. So many Nigerians don't understand social media etiquette and the proper use of it. Yes. You're a lawyer, you understand the etiquette, the responsible use of it, and in no way or form did you abuse the governor in any way. And you know you shouldn't do that.
Absolutely.
So when Nigerians step their bounds, their boundaries, overstep their boundaries and resort to personal insults, degenerating comments on this, against this handles, don't you think they have a right to, okay, I don't want to hear this sort of insults. This person has lost their right to be civil, so I'm just going to block. They still don't have the right to do that.
The truth of the matter is that we have an ecosystem that is intolerant to criticism. Look at my case. I have never been abusive of anybody. I will never do that. It is against my training as a legal practitioner. What we have is a system that doesn't want any form of criticism. In the past, even in the
whether you're being civil or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even in the recent past, Governor Donald Duke sued Global Excellence magazine. The matter went up to the Supreme Court on issues of libel. As far back as the 1980s, the first executive governor of Ogun State, Chief Olabisi Onabanjo, filed a matter against Concord Press, owned by Chief Abiola. These are the ways and manner with which those that have been elected engage citizens, even if they feel aggrieved that this publication is false. But we now have a regime where your house will be, burgled, by the security agencies, you'll be arrested, you'll be intimidated, and what have you. So what we are saying is that, come, this is a democracy. Let people express themselves. When people express themselves, sometimes it's even out of frustration. So you should not just be comfortable listening to those people that praise you, or those set of persons that tell you, oh, you are doing well, you are the best to have ever ruled, or you are the best to have ever governed. You must be willing to listen to the frustration of your
So they must take criticism as graciously as they take compliments.
It has to be commensurate.
Let's talk, still talking about restriction or breach of fundamental rights. Another person whose rights they say have been breached are the rights of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to represent her people who democratically elected her to be their representative in the House. The NBA has taken a position. Where do you think the fault lies? Is it with the Senate for refusing to allow her back in office after the expiration of her time in office? Or is it on the courts for failing, to ensure that matters are immediately adjudicated upon and a decision is made as to the legality or otherwise of her suspension?
In fairness to our court, the court has discharged its responsibility here, at least to a greater extent. She was suspended for 6 months. Within that 6 months, we had a federal high court judgment. That's very fast.
Yeah, but it didn't go all the way in providing a remedy or final decision that, she should return or not. It was open-ended.
I do not intend to, because the matter is on appeal.
Sub judice.
Sub judice. I do not want to really comment on that. But beyond the propriety or otherwise of the suspension, now the suspension has expired by effusion of time. The 6 months has expired. So what is the basis for asking her not to resume? You have asked someone to leave the Senate for 6 months. The 6 months has expired. So she says she wants to resume. You are saying she cannot resume because she's in court. You have punished her in the first place by suspending her for 6 months. That 6 months has expired. Let's liken it to this scenario. A landlord has asked the tenant to leave. Now, the landlord has filed an action in court for the tenant to leave the apartment. The tenant has also gone to join issues with the landlord in court. The landlord is now saying, you can't enter this house because there is a case in court. It is arbitrary. See, what we are saying is an indication that the law does not rule in Nigeria. It is an indication that there is no consequence, no iota of consequence for impunity. Because, look, there is no legal basis. Because we have asked them, can you cite any law? Just even a single law or section of the Constitution or any other law.
So what do you think is happening? Is it personal vendetta?
What I see is an abuse of naked power. A clear abuse of naked power in the sense that the Senate lacks the right, it lacks the power to restrain an elected senator from representing our people. They don't even have the right to suspend her in the first place. But let's even assume that the suspension has elapsed by dint of effusion of time. I mean, the 6 months has elapsed. There is no justification, legal or moral justification, to now deny her access to representing our people. Look, the Court of Appeal, in the case involving the Bauchi State House of Assembly and Honorable Dana, the Court of Appeal made it clear. You cannot deny the constituents their legal representation because it is a constitutional right to be represented. It is a constitutional right. The office of the senator is created by the Constitution, and the only way you can abridge that representation is clearly stated under Section 68 of the Constitution. It says if Senator Natasha is no longer going to be on the floor of the House, it's either going to be whether she resigns, or she is recalled, or she defects from a political party, or she is convicted. These are the 4 instances with which the constituents can be denied representation, at least in the main. But that is not the case here. So what happens, because this is a matter at the Court of Appeal, we have matters that have been pending for 5 years. What happens, say, from now till 2027, the case is not decided? Are we saying the people of our constituents will be denied representation?
That's what the Senate is holding on to, that cases in the Court of Appeal.
You see, so the Senate, in all honesty, cannot hide under the pretext of the fact that the matter is sub judice by denying her people of Kogi Central, from the representation that they deserve under the Constitution. There is no legal, there is no moral, there is no constitutional basis upon which the Senate have asked her not to resume. And I'm saying again, if the case lasts till the end of her tenure, are you saying she's not going to resume her constitutional duty? Again, another point we need to make is that what the Senate president and his co-travelers are doing is setting a very perilous precedent.
All right, we'll expand on what this precedent is when we return from this break. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're looking at the refusal of the Senate, refusal by the Senate of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to resume plenary and the implications as well as the precedents this might set. And we're joined by human rights lawyer Festus Ogun. Before we went on that break, we're talking about your concerns regarding the precedents that this matter might set, and I'd like you to expand further on that.
It's going to set a very perilous precedent, and it's going to allow subsequent legislative houses in Nigeria to not give room for dissenting voices in the legislature. I mean, everyone cannot speak for the right, and everyone cannot speak for the left. What we are now seeing is a situation where no one dares goes against anything said by the leadership of the House of this legislature, whether National Assembly or State House of Assembly. Now that the Senate President, the highest legislative organ in the country, has done it, the House of Assembly leadership across the state are also empowered because they have seen that the precedent has been set. Now, another important point I think needs to be made is the fact that the argument of the Senate that the matter is sub judice and that she shouldn't be allowed to resume is not legally sound and is not accurate. Why do I make this bold and categorical statement? The answer lies in the fact that, as it stands, even the matter at the Court of Appeal is academic. There is no longer live issue before the Court of Appeal.
By virtue of the expiration of
the expiration of the 6 months suspension. Why were they in court in the first place? Because of the 6 month suspension. The 6 months suspension has elapsed by dint of the effusion of time. There is no longer any live issue before the Court of Appeal. If there is no live issue before the Court of Appeal, so why are we talking about any issue of sub judice? In an ideal setting, what the parties will do is to even withdraw the appeal. So, knowing fully well that the appeal before the court is academic, the Senate is stopped from interfering with our right to representing our people, because how can we explain it?
So
how can we explain it that the people of Kogi Central are not represented in the Senate, all because of the squabble between the Senate President and Senator Natasha? I do not believe that the people of Kogi Central should be punished for the personal squabble. I'm using the word. It's a personal squabble between Senator Natasha and the Senate President. So they should not be punished for it.
So now that the Nigerian Bar Association has stepped in, how do you think this will play out? Will he hasten the process of return to the National Assembly, or do you think we'll still have this back and forth?
The National Assembly better listen to the voice of reason, because we are operating a democracy, and the Nigerian Bar Association from time immemorial has been at the forefront of the vanguard for democracy in this country. The Nigerian Bar Association has done the right thing by calling the leadership of the Senate to do the needful, because there is no basis why we should toe this path of lawlessness. There is no basis why we should toe this path of tyranny. There is no basis why we should deny the people of Kogi Central their right to be represented in the Senate.
And the MPA is not doing this because Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan is a lawyer.
No, it is not about our profession. It is about upholding the sanctity of the rule of law. It is about protecting the Constitution. It is about upholding the dignity of the office of the Senate. We are exposing our democracy and by extension our country to palpable ridicule. Because how can you say, it is a ridiculous thing to say the least, that this person cannot resume even after the punishment you meted on her has expired. It is even likened to saying that there is a judgment, a trial judge had sentenced a person to 6 months imprisonment. But that person has chosen to appeal the judgment. Now, after the 6 months term in jail, the person that has been sentenced, who has completed his jail term, says he wants to leave. And the judge says, no, we can't release you because your case is still at the Court of Appeal. It is ridiculous. These persons at the Senate, with the greatest respect, are playing upon the intelligence of Nigerians. It is this, because this matter is not even just about Senator Natasha.
Actually, it's not
It
necessarily
is about our democracy, our tottering democracy. And here is the thing. Our people would say that the fork, or the shovel rather, that we call spoon today, we see a shovel, we are calling it spoon. We must be careful so that that shovel will not be used to dig our grave.
Okay, now that you're saying that this matter in court cannot be referred to as sub judice because the situation has been overtaken by events.
It is academic.
When there has been a wrong, there should be a remedy.
Absolutely.
A wrong here you've established has been done not just to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, but also to our constituents. What would you say should be a likely remedy available to her as well as her constituents?
As it were, the Senate must immediately, in the interest of our country, immediately ensure that she resumes to the floor of the Senate. And they must, even if they are not going to apologize to her, although I believe she deserves an apology, they must immediately apologize to the good people of Kogi Central. Because just the way that a litigant should not be punished for the errors or sin of his counsel, of his lawyer, same way the constituents must not be punished for the errors of their senator. Same thing applies to the House of Reps, same thing applies to the House of Assembly. When there are issues, because there are definitely going to be issues on the floor of the House, how do you shut out representation for 6 months? Now, we are now toying with a case of suspension ad infinitum. Because who knows when the matter will be decided at the Court of Appeal. In any case, I'm afraid that there is likely even going to be no decision, because I do not believe there is any live issue again.
So, as a matter of national importance, as a matter of national importance, is there any way the Court of Appeal can, expedite this case so that you put an end to it once and for all, and both parties can go their own way?
There is a way the appellate process works. Even if, yes, I agree that the matter can be prioritized and should be prioritized, but even beyond that, for the matter to proceed, this party will file their brief, the other party will file their brief. That could take some time, right? But again, I do not believe, because even if we are towing this line of, the appeal should be expedited, that is also a dangerous precedent, because a day would come that the House of Assembly or the House of Rep would suspend someone, and if the person dares go to court, the person knows that he is unlikely to return to the House, because they begin to use all delay tactics to ensure that the matter is not resolved. We must not go that. Must not go that path. What we need to do, as it were, is to ensure, is to compel, is to put all civil pressure on the Senate to ensure that Senator Natasha resumes to the House.
As the time for alternative dispute resolution elapsed, because we've had guests on this program tell us that they should look for a political solution behind the scenes and, you know, just let bygones be bygones.
Well, I mean, I would always give them for alternative dispute resolution. Absolutely. I believe in
There's still
alternative.
time to do that.
Absolutely. But at the end of the day, is this how we are going to continue as a people? That some set of persons believe they are above the law, that some set of persons believe that without you bowing on the altar of Baal, there won't be a way forward. This is not how to run a democracy. This is not how to run a country. We must run our country on the principle of the rule of law. We must run it on the principle of justice, equity, and fairness. Where is the justice in this case? I've been looking about, I'm unable to find one. What we need is for the rule of law to be respected. The current position of the state, let's even say prior to now, the issue of suspension is subject to debate. You know, I would say, some would say it's debatable. I would say the Court of Appeal has settled it in the case of, you know, Bauchi State House of Assembly and Honorable Dana. But let's even assume that one is arguable. We are facing a situation where the suspension has elapsed by a fraction of time. It's automatic. In fact, she needs no permission of the Senate to resume that house. Constitutionally, you have punished a person for 6 months. It's just as though you have sentenced a person to 6 months imprisonment.
Right.
Now, 6 months imprisonment has elapsed. Does that person need your permission to leave the prison? It is arbitrary to expect that Senator Natasha would need the permission of the Senate to resume, even when the illegal suspension has elapsed. So, the conversation about whether we should explore alternative dispute resolution, yes, I agree. I mean, I explored that with His Excellency Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. I agree. But for how long are we going to continue to insist that those whom we have wronged must come back and bow on the altar of Baal before issues are resolved, even when you have violated the Constitution? This is not, again, this is not about Senator Natasha.
Right.
It is about our institution.
It is indeed about our institutions. Festus Ogun, thank you for joining us this morning. We'll continue to track the story and see what the updates are regarding the Senate and, you know, if they would heed the advice of the NBA. But we're going to quick break. When we come back, we have other conversations this morning on Breakfast Central. Following the devastating inferno that gutted Afriland Towers, the 6-story commercial building on Broad Street, Lagos Island on Tuesday, 6 additional victims were confirmed dead yesterday by United Capital, bringing the death toll from the initial 4 on the day of the fire to 10. The Federal Fire Service has since announced a nationwide fire safety compliance audit following the tragedy. The incident was one of 2 separate fires that rocked the Lagos Island Business District on Tuesday. The second blaze at Emma Plaza, a 4-story building behind Mandela's, destroyed at least 200 shops and claimed 1 life. Although the exact cause is yet to be confirmed, Permanent Secretary of the Lagos State Urban Development, Gbolahan Oki, attributed the incident to illegal market structures and warned traders to desist from such practices. Comptroller General of the Federal Fire Service, Samuel Olumode, also announced the rollout of a fire safety compliance task force. The team will audit public and private buildings, enforce standards, sanction offenders, and train facility managers. He says the initiative is intended to shift the service from a reactive approach to a culture of prevention and accountability.
Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi have in separate messages expressed their condolences. Join us now to discuss this event is health, safety, and environmental expert Jeremiah Ayebatonye. A warm welcome to you and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central.
Thank you, y'all.
Now, we all witnessed what happened on that dark Tuesday in Lagos. From your perspective, what immediate safety lapses do incidents like the Afriland Towers and Imeb Plaza reveal in some of these commercial buildings? From what you've seen so far, where do you think they dropped the ball?
First of all, my heart goes out to all who lost their loved ones in this unfortunate fire incident. It is one too many. And also with other incidents that also happened at that Mandelas. My thoughts are with them this trying period. First, when I first of all saw the video, what first came to my mind was poor building designs. That's about an 8-story buildings. Buildings like that need to have an external staircase. That if there's an emergency, someone don't need to pass through where they came through, the normal route. They could come behind an external staircase. You come behind the building and everybody will walk out safely without any injury or incident happening to anybody. Then secondly, if you look at this, the way the buildings are there in Lagos Island, you will notice that they are very too close. The way the buildings are there. So if there's any incident or any fire incident, it can easily just move from one spot to the next building, putting it a risk for all of us. Then we'll now come back to that Afriland fire again. We ask ourselves some questions. What is their emergency response plans? Do they even have an emergency response plans? How often do they conduct drills? What is their fire risk assessment on that building? Then, do they have competent personnel that man that building for them if there's an emergency? If they have done all this before now, what we are talking about will not be happening. I still remember in that Lagos Island, there's this fire station that is there, Union Bank. I also know that in one of the zonal fire stations in Lagos, it's at campus, zonal. That's yes, that place campus. But in that particular street, they have one fire station, Union Bank fire stations. How did they respond to it? These are things we should also be looking at so that incidents like this should be prevented and knowledge we learn from this should be passed on to everybody so that issues like this should not be coming up again. This is becoming a recurring incident that we lost money, goods, even individuals now on fire.
Well, I mean, it really is a sad thing. Like you said, our condolences go to the people who have lost loved ones. The Federal Fire Service has announced a nationwide audit. I wanted to ask how much impact you think this exercise can realistically have in preventing future fires.
It will have, it will do a follow-up. It is not just to look at it critically today, have a meeting, do a round table on it, and then everybody goes their separate ways. Then it happens again. No, if there is proper supervision, if there is proper follow-up, we'll have the result that we are talking about. As a professional, it is painful to find out that we are losing people on incident that is preventable. That is one thing as professionals, when we looked at it critically, these things are preventable. They are avoidable deaths. It is not something that should be happening to us again. Even if it is happening, what are their emergency response system to contain it so that it won't spread? That's one of the things we are looking at.
Now, you did talk about the geography and the structures of that area has been highly clustered. Illegal structures now are being blamed for the Imab Plaza fire. What practical steps can government and traders take to reduce risk of to reduce this fire risk without crippling livelihoods? Because most times when you think of solutions in Nigeria, it's often one-track minded. You ban, you stop, or you evict, or you destroy. What creative means could we use to sustain the history of that area? And if you go around the world, there are also clustered markets like that in Vietnam, in different parts of the world, but without, by reducing the risk of a fire, what can the government do creatively to stop fires in those sorts of areas?
First, you said there are illegal structures, so government knows what to do to illegal structures. But secondly, training. When persons are properly trained on how to handle issues like this, they will know what to do. The fire service should not be there just when there's a fire, they rush down there and they try to fight fire. They should also designate some persons to do fire prevention. How often do they go to the market to enlighten people on the dangers on fire? How often do they identify hazard in the course of their operations that this thing can bring fire to us? And if we don't take these steps, it is going to bring big huge problem for us and also to the country. So these are the things I expect the fire service to also do, and also the government. Enlighten people more, educate them. When you educate people, they know what to do. Even if you look at that, I've been there sometimes before now, you hardly even see a fire extinguisher in that facility. Now, how do you expect when there's a fire, what's the first step to take? And like you said, navigating to that place, it's not easy. But when we train persons what to do, it becomes practical for them to take the first step even before the fireman comes. So I will keep emphasizing that we train, we evaluate our training and train again.
Okay, so now let's talk about individuals. You've talked about trainings, but there are houses, people who own high-rise buildings that house thousands of workers and traders. What are the preliminary caution steps that every building owner and occupant should be doing right now to improve fire safety?
First thing they need to do, like I said, if we check that building critically, they have no emergency exit route, no means of escape. That kind of high-rise building should have an external escape route where they could just come out easy. Like if you watch that video critically, you notice that they were breaking the windows. So instead of breaking the windows, if they have an emergency exit on that spot to just take them out first. Then secondly, every organization should work on its emergency response plan. Now, when you're doing your emergency response plan, you can also do drill, probably because it is an office. It's not like a depot or a petroleum facility where you're expected to do drill on a monthly basis. They can be doing quarterly drills. One thing this drill will do is that it will help them to know the right thing to do. Just imagine somebody was jumping up from that place and you notice what it cost. Jumping from like third floor. When there are emergency drills, they know what to do. When you're able to identify the hazard in that building, they also know what to do. Then another thing again is you can connect with the nearest fire station. Now, when this fireman comes, for instance, and they want to put out the fire, what do you think they will do? Do they understand your building very well? When you have a competent person in that facility, what he will do is that he will be the one to lead, to guide the firemen as they get into the building and prevent this from. But in all, like I will always say, they need training. Everybody needs fire training. Not just only fire training. Medical emergency happens too. These are things that as a nation, as individuals, we should really look at.
Now, the Lagos State government said they will form a task force and hopefully they would get into this training. But let's look at the building code. I mean, for a modern building like that and a high-rise building, shouldn't it, I find it very hard to believe that there weren't sprinkler systems or emergency exits in that building. We'll wait to see the report of the Lagos State Fire Service inquiry on what happened, so I don't want to preempt that. But I mean, from a logical point of view, and I know we don't live in a lawless society. We understand there's a Lagos State, there's LABCA, Lagos State Building Code Authority, that gives approval for buildings, and you have to go through several paperwork. And for you to erect such a structure, you most definitely have fire exits and sprinkler systems. How do we make sure that these codes are enforced? For example, if you drive around Lagos and you're stopped by, or anywhere in the country, by the Federal Road Safety Corps, they will ask you for your fire extinguisher. So why don't we have that when it comes to, why don't we see a serious enforcement when it comes to buildings and commercial buildings, residential buildings in all parts of the country?
The fire service has the regulatory powers to do that. It will be good if they look at that. Go to facilities, inspect their firefighting equipment. Do they even have fire extinguishers? Do they have hose wheels to connect with water? Do they have their emergency equipment? Basic fire extinguisher, your CO2, your DCP, and the rest of them. Like you said, sprinklers, it's not there. Even if these things are there, how effective is it? I stay around the sometimes you go around like in Agor, there are places you go to in Agor, even the hydrant that's there. You notice that some market women have installed stores there and they start selling things. Meanwhile, that hydrant is expected to take water. There's an emergency in that neighborhood to assist the firemen. So what they also need to do, an external audit. Go to these buildings, assess it. You have your checklist. What and what is expected of this? If they have those things, we'll be seeing lesser of these fire incidents in our country, and especially this are Lagos State.
Well, we certainly look forward to seeing less of these fire incidents happening in Lagos State, and we extend our condolences to those who have lost loved ones from this fire outbreak. But thank you so much for joining us. I think a final question would be, I go to a number of events and we hear them have this safety announcements and this safety brief read to the audience. I also worry about, even we as individuals, our personal knowledge of how to put out fires. So how can we incorporate it more beyond saying house owners and building owners should have exits? As individuals, if a fire were to break out, a number of people maybe don't even know how to make use of the fire extinguishers or to know if they are expired. So how can we factor this into basic knowledge that every Nigerian can have and should have?
We know that even today, YouTube is even lecturing us on so many things. Some of us can just go to YouTube, how to use a basic education. Like, let's say, for instance, PASS. That acronym PASS can be used. And like you said, organizations too should take it as a need. Individuals too should make it as a need to lecture themselves on how to first prevent fire from happening. Because fire don't just happen. Something must have caused it. So if we can prevent fire from happening, then the second thing is use basic extinguisher. Extinguisher is one of the simplest things to use. I'm not saying it probably because I'm a professional, but because if we are trained on how to use it, it is very simple. And let me say something. If we can use it at that particular time, it will prevent an inferno from happening.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Jeremiah Aibatonye. Thank you for your time with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
We will now go on the break. When we come back from this short break, we have breakfast headlines, after which we'll reconnect to Breakfast Central. Stay with us. The Rivers State House of Assembly resumed plenary on Thursday, officially ending the 6-month emergency rule imposed by President Bola Tinubu in March 2025. Lawmakers led by the House Leader, Major Jack, moved a motion requesting a fresh list of commissioner nominees and a revised 2025 budget. Supported by 26 members, the motion also called for a review of financial activities of the former sole administrator. Speaker Martin Amewule confirmed the formal request will be sent to the governor. Governor Siminalayi Fubara, however, has yet to return to office. Supporters who gathered at the government house in anticipation of his return left disappointed as the governor remains absent amid ongoing political negotiations.
State House of Assembly will continue to abide by the terms of the peace party between us, the governor, and all stakeholders for the interest of this state and the cause for the good governance of their states. Thirdly, the House resolved that we should call on the governor of Rivers State, Senator Siminalayi Fubara, GSSRS, to forward the list of his nominees.
A group of demonstrators under the Warri Indigenous People Movement occupied the entrance of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited headquarters in Abuja. The group, during a peaceful demonstration, distanced the Ishekiri ethnic nationality from recent protests calling for the removal of NNPCL Group CEO Bayo Ojulari, saying such actions were handiwork of desperate illegal oil bunkerers. According to them, Ojulari has introduced genuine reforms in just 5 months, plugging loopholes that previously drained Nigeria's oil revenues.
Engineer Bayo Ojulari is plugging the holes where Nigeria is being bled to death economically by desperate illegal oil pipeline bunkers. Ever since Ojulari took over the reins of the NNPCL, these desperate illegal oil bunkers have been threatening fire and fighting him. They were the same people who put the sack or resignation stunt on Ojulari recently. They are also behind the failed protest again here in Abuja a few weeks back. The NNPC to go after the high-level oil bunkers in the Niger Delta region. I see oil bunkers, not jerrycan bunkers.
Security. A former governor of Plateau State, Joshua Dariye, has attributed the current insecurity crisis in the state to religious tensions and communal clashes dating back almost 2 decades of religious discord between the 2 major religions in the state. Dariye made this known when members of the House of Representatives Special Committee investigating the root causes of the violence on the plateau paid him a courtesy call ahead of a special dialogue and security conference. The former governor says that although efforts were made during his tenure to address the conflict, the crisis has since snowballed into something difficult to comprehend.
Some boilers from the military to the civilian who are not able to express their mind. And just one day, somehow, somebody was crossing a prayer point somewhere in what do you call that, showing up. And then he just erupted simultaneously. And one million person were asking, let's cross him like this. Is that a problem? Is that a taboo? Even if you bring to the protocol. From there, hell was let loose. Then we managed to control it. Then later on, the appointment of the Lafayette. The individual felt agreed that he was supposed to be one of them, but a non-individual was appointed. That again brought into crisis. So those were the other ones. And later on, you can explain the dimension.
The security situation, the killings, the violence, to look into it, listen to as many stakeholders as possible, and convene a special dialogue stroke security conference, which at the end of the day will be a platform for all concerned to come and openly ventilate, out of which we hope to get the feelings of the people, the root causes.
And now to education. The Kano State government has assured education stakeholders in the state of its commitment to sustain reforms in the education sector. This follows its emergence as the best performing state in the 2025 NECO SSC with 68,159 candidates, 5.02%, minus 5.02% of the national total, earning 5 credits and above, including mathematics and English. Lagos and Oyo followed in 2nd and 3rd place. The state links the strong performance to ongoing education reforms under Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf, including increased funding, school rehabilitation, free learning materials, and teacher recruitment.
For budget.
Away from that, the Nigerian Immigration Service has officially ended passport production at multiple centers, transitioning to a single centralized system for the first time in 62 years. Minister of Interior Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo made the announcement on Thursday while inspecting Nigeria's new centralized passport personalization center at the NIS headquarters in Abuja. He stated that since the establishment of NIS in 1963, Nigeria had never operated a central passport production center until now, marking a major reform milestone. He explained that the old machines could only produce 250 to 300 passports daily, but the new system had a capacity of 4,500 to 5,000 passports every day. In an effort to improve identity management and registration and meet set targets by the federal government, the National Identity Commission says that it has identified effective customer relations as key to meeting its goals. Senior management staff of the commission made this known as the commission commenced a nationwide training for staff of the commission, also expected to cascade to all levels of staff within the commission.
The whole aim of this training is about capacity building, but targeted towards operational efficiency. We have colleagues from different states coming together in Abuja for this training. And the essence of this training is that we want the knowledge, the skills acquired during this 5-day training period to be cascaded in the job roles. When they go back to the various states, what the DG wants is that there should be excellence, which is one of our key and core values.
We expect our colleagues to go back to their respective zones and be able to train their other colleagues and also the third party that tend to assist us in registering Nigerians. We want them to be able to tell them that in as much as they are employees, but Nigerians are employees, we expect them to also register, and we are ready to give them the best services we can offer.
My expectation is that it will help boost the workflow. It will help us get to provide more better and efficient service to the customers at the end of the day.
And outside the continent, U.S. President Donald Trump and U.S. First Lady Melania Trump arrived at the White House in Washington after returning from a state visit to Britain. The couple departed from London's Stansted Airport shortly after he and the UK Prime Minister spoke to the world's media as they hailed the two countries' special relationship. Zakir said a tech deal with the U.S. will change lives and mark a new era following crunch bilateral talks over trade, Gaza, and Ukraine earlier in the day. However, Trump told the UK Prime Minister to take a tougher line on tackling illegal migration. And that's a wrap this morning. Remember that you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV across all TV platforms, on all social media platforms. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Pro TV channel 23, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and we're streaming live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. Breakfast Central now continues.
Back to Breakfast Central. It's now 4 days since Malawians went to the polls to elect a new president, and they're anxiously waiting on the Malawian Electoral Commission for official results. We now switch to our Southern African correspondent, Bongani Siziba, who is live in Lilongwe, Malawi, to give us updates on the latest on the Malawian presidential elections. Good morning to you, Bongani. I believe you're at the MEC headquarters in Lilongwe, if I'm not mistaken. Please, can you keep us up to speed with the latest in terms of the presidential results in Malawi?
At the National Tally Center here in Malawi. It's been 4 days, but I think any minute from now or any time from now, that wait might be over. If I could move away from the camera and allow my colleague Sponelo Mkasibe just to show you, we just witnessed ballot boxes are rather coming through. We know that from 220 constituencies. Yesterday we only heard from the commissioner that only 53 ballot boxes or districts had submitted their boxes, but this morning when we just came through, we saw these boxes coming through, and on the other side, the Electoral Commission members are now looking at those votes, tallying them, so that the nation, maybe in the next few coming days, will be able to know who they voted for. So the suspense now is almost over for most Malawians who voted. I've been in the streets speaking to Malawians. Some of them are saying that they really need these votes because they voted and they know who they voted for, they know what they voted for, they want a better life for themselves, looking at the economic hardships and also the challenges that the country is going through. So now I think any day from today, that wait will be over. And also we know yesterday we had a media briefing with the electoral observers who also mentioned about the technology, that Malawi has also to embrace technology. Why they said so? Because we saw how many days it took for them to count these results and bring them to the tally center. So if they are using technology, it's something that will be a little bit faster. So the electoral observers urging Malawi also to embrace technology. But also they spoke about political parties that are announcing results before the Malawi Electoral Commission. We know that 2 days ago there was a media briefing by the Peter Mutharika's party, that is the DPP, and also the President Chakwera's party, MCP, also had another briefing. Both of them are saying that they have won the elections. So the electoral observers warned them against publicly announcing results before the Electoral Commission does. And also the Electoral Commission also did warn them that this will cause unease among citizens. So as we wait for these ballot boxes to be opened, tallied, and then the nation will now know who they voted for and who is going to rule them for the next 5 years.
Danny, before we let you go, we've seen a situation, like you just rightly announced, that the main contenders, former President Peter Mutharika and incumbent President Lazarus Chakwera, have claimed victory at different points in time, and rightly so. The MEC, Malawian Electoral Commission, has warned them not to do so. And constitutionally speaking, the MEC is the only body, the constituted body, that has the right to pronounce a winner and announce a winner in the elections. Having said this, and having witnessed, you're right there in the headquarters of Tallying Center, looking at the number of boxes that have been yet to be counted, can you give us an estimate? Because I can imagine the tension in the air in Blantyre and Lilongwe. People are waiting eagerly to know who their next president will be. Can you give us, do you have an idea of when the final announcement will be made? It's been 4 days, and that's quite a long time in politics.
We don't know yet when these results will be announced, but now it's a bit of a relief for Malawians because we are seeing these ballot boxes that are now at the tally center where they are supposed to be. It's been days when citizens have been waiting for this, but now this gives hope. As you can see that the Malawi Electoral Commission members are busy with these boxes, opening them, checking if everything is fine, then tallying them, and after tallying them, then they see if the results from the polling centers and what they get here tallies. Then from there, we can now get the results. Also, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission said during the media briefing that they will start with the president results, the much anticipated results by the citizens of Malawi. So any day from, I think from today, if I might say, we might start to see some of those numbers from our constituencies. I really don't know how they do it here in Malawi. If what I'm thinking is to go by, it means that they will give figures from each constituents and then they tally them together to see who has more presidential numbers. But we have seen an official numbers coming out from the social medias, also citizens on their phones, and some discussions around this election saying that Peter Mutharika is leading, but this is an unofficial, if I might stress this point, unofficial results. It's only citizens and social medias that are coming out with these kind of results, but we wait for the Malawi Electoral Commission to give us those results, and anytime, any day, we might see those results starting to come in, because now there is hope. Behind me, the ballot boxes are here where they are supposed to be. The Malawi Electoral Commission has started their work to tally those figures together. Benga.
Your time, and thanks to you and your team for keeping us up to speed with events in Malawi. We'll definitely touch base with you in subsequent bulletins. Thank you. You're watching Breakfast Central. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we will be looking at the newspaper front pages. So stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now we'll take you through the newspapers. We have globally renowned public affairs journalist and analyst, rather, Dr. And the planets. Thank you so much, Dr. Ojon. It's always a delight to have you.
I think I should actually create an account for this Friday hyping, so that
anything for the girls.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Yeah. We value our analysts, and we also value your time.
Thank you.
And insights.
Yes. All right. Let's begin with the New Telegraph paper on the front page. Rivers Assembly to probe IBA's spendings. As sole administrator, I spoke with Fubara yesterday. Peace has returned to Rivers, Wiki says. Fubara absent as busloads of supporters storm government house. Rivers emergency rule will hurt Nigeria's democracy for long, Obi says. Tinubu arrogated power of constitution to himself, according to the ADC, as Pandef hails restoration of democracy. Let's start with that. Rivers, the latest update.
Yes, I think you can see from the street of Port Harcourt how happy the people are to actually see an end to the emergency rule. I'm extremely happy, and because of two things. Number one is that there were suggestions here and there that there were temptations for the emergency rule to be extended. And also, the second reason why I'm extremely happy is about the fact that the essence of democracy is election. And no matter how faulty the election might be, once we've got somebody who came out through the election, suspending such person may be against the spirit of true democracy. But of course, reasons have been given, and I do not want our story to be our frustration. We should learn to look ahead. I'm happy that peace has finally returned, and I believe that everybody involved has learned one or two lessons about it. So I want us to just focus on the peace that has returned.
What do you make about the conspicuous absence of the man of the moment, the elected Governor Siminalayi Fubara? Everyone was on the streets of Port Harcourt yesterday in anticipation of his arrival, but the man himself, who has been away, he's had a compulsory holiday for 6 months, was nowhere to be seen. The State Assembly had resumed. They even got straight to work, like they say in Nigerian political lexicon. They hit the ground running yesterday. So what do you make of the governor's absence? Is there more to it, or we're just making a mountain out of a molehill?
Okay, I think why we all need to be very careful is the fact that the absence yesterday actually generated some, on the street of Port Harcourt,
my people were there, and we got information that people were already carrying around town that the governor has actually turned in his resignation letter, and that was one of the reasons why he didn't show up. So a lot of stories actually emanated, and that's born out of the expectation of the people. The people expected to see an excited governor come back to resume office, but that constitutionally may not have any impact or effect. But of course, it will have been good for them to have seen their governor, their leader yesterday. And I saw the former governor, the Minister of FCT on television. He said something more than 2 times. He continued to say, my governor, my governor, my governor. And that actually pointed to the fact that truly an agreement has been reached and peace has returned to the city. So the expectation of the people was to see their governor yesterday. But of course, I know that the governor will also make this up in some other ways.
Right. Okay. Let's see how that goes.
The governor is at the sorry to
is at the airport.
Is at the airport. They are waiting for him.
He's not yet at the airport.
Our correspondent is at the airport. Yes, and they are anticipating he will fly in this morning. Let's hope he will not go to the seaport or the railway station, and they will miss him again this morning. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Still looking at the front page, federal government ends passport production at multiple centers after 62 years. What's the implication of this? Because in the news, they had said that the former passport production centers could produce in the hundreds, but that this single passport production center will be able to produce between 4,500 to 5,000 a day. So I'm assuming what this will mean is that if I want to renew my passport, I have to travel to Abuja. I don't know if that's how it works.
They probably have means of distributing to other centers. But this is what's celebrated, and a lot of people have been celebrating this on social media, saying that the way BTO, the Super Minister, Olubunmi Tunde Ojo, that Tunde Ojo, a lot of people have been calling him, they call him Star Boy of this administration, that the way he's working is making his predecessor look like he didn't do anything apart from announcing public holiday.
I didn't say that. I actually said that on the social media. So the intent of having multiple centers is because of distribution, not for production. Distribution, because the idea then, maybe archaic now, was that if we produce in Lagos, we can feed Lagos community and the entire Southwest community in terms of distribution. And you also see that there are a lot of lapses in the distribution. That's why the fact that the production centers were nearer to the people. But like Olive said, what they've done now is to be able to, the entire machines that they had before could produce between 250 and 300. Now we're looking at production of 5,000 passports per day. So I know that the innovation will also extend to how this will be delivered within 2 weeks. The minister had mentioned that the intention is actually to get it across to the people within 2 weeks, but they are not stopping at that. He mentioned that they want to actually bring it to 1 week. Whichever way, this is one of the good things that we must commend this government for. And he also points to the fact that leadership is not about being the president. Leadership is about replicating the idea of your president. And if your president has an idea of moving this cup from here to here, the essence of becoming a minister is to help him achieve that. And I'm so glad that the minister has been representing the government in a good light. And that has also, in a very large extent, marketed Nigeria. Because even people abroad struggle to renew their passport. But with these innovations that we're having, it means that we have serious-minded people in government, which is what we have always advocated for. And it's also a call for people who think that government or governance should be for a certain kind of individual, that we must populate our government structure in a way that will continue to have the best of us to rule the rest of us, not the other way around, where we just have people who don't know anything rule over us because they participate in politics. This is extremely commendable.
But, I mean, who should the kudos go to? Is it the president in appointing? What lessons do we learn from this? That there be greater scrutiny in appointing technocrats rather than career politicians.
Okay, so let's begin this way. When they make policies that are obviously anti-people, will come. It may not even emanate from the president. It could be the thinking of his subordinate. We all come on television to actually blame the president. So if any of the subordinate now performs well, the glory also goes to his administration. Now, the art of leadership now may now be, because true leadership is always absent in praise and present in problem. When you see a good leader, when they say, you have done well, it's just the glory with his subordinate. But when you see a good leader, they say, you haven't done well, it takes responsibility. So on this, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done this excellently. And I'm seeing that we must try to replicate this in other areas to benefit more Nigerians. Now, talking about the art of politics itself is an art of what do I get? At the end of the day, the Nigerian kind of politicking is what do I get? For example, when people decamp from one political party to the other and they give excuse that, we want to support the government in power to succeed. What were you thinking? Do you think really they want to support the government to succeed? No, they are actually saying that we want to actually get something out of the government. And I told you before that it's a general concept of traditionalism in leadership in Africa. What's traditionalism? Traditionalism is people looking out for what they get from the art of governance, not what they give. And it emanated from
Is it a bad thing? Because, I mean, in Olive's Delta State, the executive governor said he wanted to plug into the central nervous system of Abuja so that they can align and get more benefits.
He's not the only person that said that. In Johansson's appointment state, the governor too had even mandated them to follow him.
Yes, and some refused. Some commissioners resigned.
So now, belonging to the central, there's nothing wrong to want to align. But alignment with the central, usually, it's not about belonging to the same political party with the center. If you see, align without belonging to the political, and this is what I mean. If a president emerges in Nigeria and is doing extremely well economically, a state can say, okay, I am changing the policy thrust of my government to align economically with the government at the center. So there are many ways to actually align. You can align policy-wise. But the only understanding we have in Nigeria is that for me to align, it has to be party-wise or partisanly, if there's any word like that. So to align, there's nothing wrong with it. But when you, and I'm using this word, taking responsibility for it, and there's also nothing wrong for you to move from one party to the other. But when you do that shamefully, that's where my problem is. Moving from one political party to the other without thinking of the implication or the ideology of what you have earlier stood for. And it's so funny that a lot of us come on television, a lot of the politicians come on television to condemn a policy they will later support when they join those political parties. So the question has always been, what has changed?
And some of you're just talking about policies. Some have said quite shocking things and unprintable, and they have to reverse themselves later. It's the politics, it's what we find ourselves in. Still looking at the New Telegraph, the front page there says the members of the State House of Assembly are to probe, can we have it up please, to probe the tenure of the sole administrator. Rivers Assembly to probe IBA's spending as sole administrator. If you recall, as part of his mandate, there's oversight functions by the National Assembly Committee on Rivers State. So are they members of the River State Assembly chasing shadows? Is it necessary to, probe the Vice Admiral Ibas's 6 months administration? It was just there for 6 months. It's sole administratorship. And what do you make of it? Okay, so they said he spent billions on CCTV projects, for example.
Okay, so
maybe those cameras can see inside intestine.
So it's now a contest.
Okay, you know what? Let's take a call.
Olive, I don't know why you're laughing.
Good morning. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hello, good morning.
Ambassador, please go ahead.
Thank you. My own contribution. Good morning, everybody there in the studio. Yeah, my own contribution.
All right. Network does not want him to make his own contribution.
Camera shy.
So now it's a huge contest between logic and legality. Do they have the power to actually probe it? Yes. Should they go ahead? That answer lies with the Rivers people. Because what makes democracy democracy? It's not the executive. It's not the judiciary. What makes democracy democracy is the legislative arm of government. In other words, one of the reasons that the Supreme Court gave that assumed that there was no government in Rivers is that the legislative arm cannot be suspended, and you will assume that there's government in a democracy. What does that mean? It means that the people of Rivers have their representative in their legislators. So if they come together and they think that the people of Rivers at this point in time want the past administration to be probed, there's nothing wrong if that is done. But again, the usual way, you know, a philosopher said that once you don't want anything done in government, you commit it to a committee. Instead of turning in a paper that will be action, they turn it a paper that will never be worked on. So whether this will pull through is a different conversation entirely. But if the Rivers people think, and you will remember that a lot of them actually spoke against the idea of emergency rule. You even remember when the wife of the president was in Rivers State, some of the Rivers women actually staged a walkout on Iba's wife and in that meeting, if you remember. It shows that majority of the people, and you know when I traveled to Port Harcourt, I came back on this program and I told you that my investigation revealed that when it comes to support, Fubara then, I don't want us to talk about who was the support now, then own the people. But when it comes to the politics of River, Wike owns it. And I said it to you that anytime there's a contest between the people and the politics of the land, that the politics of the land will always triumph. So if the people of Rivers want the past government sole administrator probe, so be it. But whether they will get it done is a different thing entirely.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's quickly factor in another newspaper, just see what the front pages of the Vanguard newspaper is saying. Of course, Rivers Assembly resumes sitting, Fubara fails to show up. Osun local government crisis, probe judicial irregularities, PDP tells CG. And then Aujales to Kusembuwa ruling house in leadership face-off. At the top of the paper, government ends passport production at multiple centers after 2 years. Marketers want us to increase pump price by...
I love the way Dangote used to cast these marketers and expose them.
Okay, so when you see this news story, you may actually want to think that the marketers want Dangote to put money so that they can be competitive, but that's not the story. Okay, what actually happened is that I'm trying to break it down. Let's break it down. The issue is that Dangote Refinery offers the DAPman, what's it called? Wants them to take delivery, offer them at its gantry price. That's the price without the transportation and all of that. But here's the issue. DAPman wants to take delivery via coastal means, coastal logistics. Now, this is what incurred the extra cost. What are they paying for? If they take it through coastal logistics, there will be an addition of 75 naira per liter in the cost. And this cost includes what they will pay NIMASA and what they will pay MPA. If you add that together, that's 70 naira. If you add that to the 5 naira pumping price into the vessel, it will make it 75 naira. So when you have this 75 naira, the marketers are now telling Dangote
to incur that cost.
To incur that cost. And yes, they are now advising him that, okay, the best way, because when you put this cost together with our 40 million liters per day, it will amount to somewhere around 1.5 trillion every year. So Dangote as a businessman will not take the cost. What that will mean is that he will pass it to the consumer, and that will take petrol to about 90-something naira per liter, and this will go to about 1,000-something per liter. This does not make sense because people are already suffering.
And the subsidy has been removed.
And subsidy has been removed. So it's a lot of back and forth. And I think instead of going this back and forth, we should actually define what exactly we want. Do the marketers really want to continue to import fuel? Let them leave Dangote alone. Let them import fuel. Anytime I travel, I don't look for Dangote regulated filling stations before I buy fuel. Because sometimes you don't even see them. Sometimes you don't even say NNPC. You can just enter into any filling station and fuel. And that will give room for the competition that we are talking about. So this back and forth of, I want Dangote to do it this way, Dangote coming out to say, I can't do it this way, it's not necessary for the newspapers.
Absolutely. Just hold your thoughts there. We have a call from Mohammed from Port Harcourt. Perhaps he has spotted the governor. Who knows? Good morning, Mohammed. Go ahead and talk to us, please.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, the entire News Center crew and the guests.
Good morning.
Good morning. Benga says you probably have spotted the governor. That's why you're calling.
Yes, of course. I think it's better late than never, but sadly, it is an unfortunate situation, even though the illegal suspension has been reinstated and also the legitimate governor is back in power. But the question we need to ask as a people, is the president ready to sort out the issue between Fubara and Wike? If the answer is yes, then we need to go and prepare, because in peace and conflict management, you can't just suspend a legitimate governor based on an information before you, and only 6 months after you reinstated the governor, without calling the warring parties to say, okay, the speaker should come, the governor should come, Wike should come. Meet at the office of the National Security Advisor, the DSS should be there, the DMI, the NRA, all the security apparatus to make peace. You've not done that, only for you to come back and reinstate the man. A day after, the same day that he was reinstated, the State Assembly are calling for the governor to submit the nomination of commissioners. I think this is a clear case of going for a second round of crisis. If you look at Section 192, it clearly stated that the nomination of commissioner by the governor after the oath of allegiance is after 60 days from the oath of allegiance. And in the event they fail to confirm, 21 days, it becomes law. But now what we are seeing is another round of crisis in Rivers State. So I think I'll urge all the stakeholders. He has not called the Rivers State elders. He has not called everybody. He just reinstated a governor. And all we are seeing yesterday was that the assembly are on one side, the local government chairmen are not with him, these are not with him. On a good day, the local government chairman, the assembly members, the stakeholders, to simplify, all the bodies should meet at the airport to receive the governor and usher him as a matter of peaceful resolution. But unfortunately, it is not what we are seeing. So I think we are in a very serious situation as well. All the presidents will think and call those people to order so that we will not have another declaration. Thank you very much and God bless you.
All right. Thank you very much.
So I totally understand the point of Mohammed, but again, the governor is not coming to take another oath of office. He's taking oath of office 2 years ago. So when the assembly calls upon him, they are not calling upon him as a new governor. It's not a new governor. He's been a governor. They are just hitting the ground running, as it were. And I do not want us to, because there will be many, if you want to see what is wrong, there will be many things that will be wrong. But again, what is important at this point in time is that the governor remains the rallying point. No matter how you think a governor is frustrated, he's the most powerful man in the state. You don't want to you don't have an idea of the power that the governor. You know, a friend of mine was in the House of Reps. I remember this long ago, and he called me and said, "Oh, I want to see the governor." So I was a student union president who happened to be very close to the sitting governor. So I had a friend in the National Assembly who called me that, please, I want to see the governor. So innocently, I just went to the governor and was telling him that, how can a National Assembly person be calling me that I want to see the governor? The governor turned like this and laughed. So you don't have an idea of how powerful a governor is. So the governor remains a rallying point. He will come to Rivers and call meeting of all the elders. He will come to Rivers, call meeting with the House of Assembly member. He will come to Rivers State and call meeting with everyone that Mohammed has talked about. It's not the duty of the president to do that. The president suspended, he has lifted the ban. It's not the duty of governor. And I think he needs more wisdom than willpower at this moment.
I believe what we're witnessing in Rivers State now is a situation of no victor, no vanquished.
No victor, no vanquished, yes.
For the good of the people of Rivers State, it's our hope that, you know, all the political drama has ended and they face the task of governance, and that's what the people deserve.
I hope so too.
Well, unfortunately, we can't take more stories, but just to quickly touch on the front page, still on the Vanguard, federal government raises fresh alarm as Rivers Niger, Benue reach peak level. Flood. Yeah. So all we have seen is just the tip of the iceberg, is a snippet. That's not looking
good. So these
good.
states are susceptible to flooding.
Yes.
I mean, that's why it's called rivers for a reason.
And Lagos.
Yeah.
Wow. Lagos.
Okay,
the situation in Lagos now, and we must also do our part as citizens. It's easy to say, oh, government did not do this, government did not do that. We must do our part. We must create a system that will not be a victim of, even if we do not trust the government. So it's our responsibility not to block the drain line. It's our responsibility to ensure that our waste are properly disposed. It's our responsibility to even be our brother's keeper. Now, developers, most especially, they just develop nonsense and sell it. And at the end of the day, the people are the victim because there's no regulation. You know, I keep talking about how anytime I come here.
Regularly, there's LAPCA, there's Ministry of Land, and you know, all of this. Why are they not doing their jobs?
You see,
are they overwhelmed by the sheer number of
the thing is that one of the things I always say on this program is that Nigeria does not need a new law to succeed as a country. We just need a new logic for people to just know that this job has to be done. A lot of people think, if you get to our local government now, you understand what I'm saying. In the Southwest today, I don't know how many local government secretariats we have in the Southwest. Go to 50 of them, of those local government secretariats, whether you will meet 10 people in any of the local government secretariats across the Southwest, at least the place I know.
That are not trading.
They don't come to the office. So we treat government business as nobody's business. And at the end of the day, we think, oh, the leader is the governor, is the president, is this and that. We must take responsibility for our destiny. And it's to, the concept of leadership and followership is the fact that leadership is supposed to, what's it called? To refine followership. But followership is supposed to rebut leadership. If you are lucky to have good leader, it refines followership. If you are unlucky to have bad followership, it rebuts bad leadership.
So it's a symbiotic relationship.
It's a cycle, and we don't want to keep perpetrating a harmful cycle. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much. Oliver, I have to confess, yesterday I lied. I wished you a happy birthday on air, and it wasn't your birthday. And innocent Abdulatif, that was our guest, also wished you a happy birthday. So I apologize for that. Well, I'm not a liar.
You didn't lie. You know why? Because every day is a day to celebrate my birthday.
Thank you so much.
It's an occasion for celebration.
Thank you so much for protecting my professional integrity.
You're welcome. You're welcome, my friend. We'll be back on Monday. We are getting out of the studio. Thank you for joining us today on Breakfast Central. We hope you have a great weekend. Jasiri continues right about now.